Reading with your children can help them develop their minds, their critical thinking skills, their imaginations, their language skills, and their senses of humor. That's why the Balancing Act has teamed up with the Children's Book Council to bring you authors you'll want to introduce to your kids. This morning, we're really going to help you bring a chuckle to your child's life with author John Sheska. Welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
This has been so much fun for me. I got to sit down and read all of your books, and I had such a blast reading your book, Knuckleheads. You write this book with such a great sense of humor, and it's mostly autobiographical, right?
Yeah, well, in fact, there's a lot of good information in there. It's the stuff kids are always asking me, like, how did you grow up? Or where do you get your ideas?
Well, that actually leads me to that the next question, because the second page of the book, you say that many people ask you, where do you get your ideas? And you said you never have the right answer for that. Is this book kind of the response, the answer to your ideas?
This is absolutely the answer. See, I get my ideas from driving my tank. That's my favorite cover, just because I get to drive a tank. But no, actually, I get a ton of my ideas from growing up with 5 brothers.
Yes.
And no sisters. You can imagine what kind of household that was.
I know. All I can think when I read that, I think, oh, your poor mom.
Yeah, that's what most people say right away, like, oh, your poor mom. She's mostly okay now, though.
Now, since you were one of 6 boys, you have a series of kids' books, the Trucktown series.
Yeah.
Is that mainly geared toward a young male audience? You're trying to reach boys?
Yeah, you know what? That kind of grew out of my experience being a teacher. I taught elementary school for 10 years in New York. Mm-hmm. And then I also have a daughter and a son of my own. And I found boys not getting engaged with reading. So I really thought, like, how can we get these guys started reading? Like,
yeah.
What do they love? We love trucks. I mean, my dad used to take us out to a construction site and just leave us there. Let us watch trucks.
Well, it's a good thing you're still with us.
Well, yeah, he would come back a couple hours later, usually.
Now, one of my favorites, and I read this one to my nephew, the truckery rhymes. And
oh, yeah,
I went through all of these. It's kind of a fun play on the regular nursery rhymes. Was this a great way to kind of get boys engaged? Are they left out of the traditional nursery rhymes?
Yeah, you know, boys in general are tough to hook.
Yeah.
I think a lot of moms and dads know that. They just see, like, boys have a different approach to the world. And it's kind of different. It's rough and tumble, and they want something crazy. So this is what I love to do. I mean, like, my first book retold the story of the 3 little pigs. Uh-huh. So this is just retelling nursery rhymes. So instead of Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack jump over the candlestick, you get Jack smash through the wall of brick.
Which is so great.
And I love the look on kindergartners' faces when I read that to them. They just go, and then crack up.
Well, it ignites their imagination because they get the visual of that giant truck coming through this huge brick wall.
Well, and this is the reason to want to be a reader, because I think that's the thing that boys need. Like, they're not so big on following the rules all the time, but if you give them a reason to read, and that reason might be something funny, it might be because it's a truck, it might be because it's a shark book they're interested in, or volcanoes, or whatever. I mean, that's the way to get them reading.
That's the way to get them engaged.
Yeah, the older guys too. Well, and that works for every reader. I mean, I think reading's really personal. And that's what I found for all my kids, boys and girls. Like, it was just what interested them.
Well, you seem, in back to the book, Knuckleheads, that seems to be written for, you know, maybe 5th graders, middle school, 6th graders.
Yep.
From that story, are there some personal stories that are maybe your favorites that inspired the rest of your work?
Oh, like out of my personal experience? Well, the one that started that book was actually a car trip down to Florida from Michigan.
Okay.
And where we all kind of chain reaction threw up on each other. See, so there's really deep literary roots. But I love that kids also have to write things like personal narratives in school. And this to them is just permission to, like, say, oh, okay, you can write about what happens in your family.
Well, let's talk about this too, because I want to really inspire young people to learn how to write with a sense of humor. And you do it so beautifully. What's your advice to young people?
Oh, well, I think the first thing is to actually read as much as you can, because that's what I started with. I loved reading Dr. Seuss, and then Go Dog Go by P.D. Eastman. I loved reading funny stuff as a kid. Mad Magazine, that's what I grew up with. And I just imitated that stuff.
So the best thing to do is just read as much as you can.
Start by reading it, yeah. And then practice writing it. I mean, it can even be kind of like a copy of what your favorites are. But then you get that voice, you get that practice.
Well, having you here on the show has just been so fantastic, and thank you for what you've done. I had a blast reading that. I know that our moms at home can
and I'm sure you weren't embarrassed just walking around with your kids' books all the time.
Oh, they loved it. I got so many questions walking in and out of airports with my giant stack of kids' books.
Not creepy, no. Good, good.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Oh, my pleasure.
It's been so much fun. Now, if you want more information on reading with your children, or if you want to find some excellent reading lists, just visit the Children's Book Council website at cbcbooks.org. And be sure to tune in next time as we continue to spotlight children's authors. Tomorrow, Jeanette Downing joins us right here in our studio, so be sure to tune in.